The handcuffs bit into my wrist so hard I could feel every heartbeat in my palms. 3 police officers surrounded me on my own front lawn, body cams rolling while 6 local news crews pointed their cameras at my face like I was some kind of cartel kingpin. And get this, I'd only been in this house for 37 minutes. Yeah, 37. The moving truck hadn't even pulled out yet, the diesel engine still rumbling 2 blocks over. Yet here I was arrested for running an illegal gambling operation in a house where I hadn't even found the coffee pot. And there she was, Victoria Ashford, standing behind the cops in a powder pink blazer that probably cost more than my car platinum blonde hair, done up like a helmet built to withstand a hurricane. She pointed at me with a manicure that screamed old money and spit out, "That's him." Officers, Jackson Reeves. He's been running an underground casino, corrupting our children, destroying property values. She rattled off about witnesses' documents, the whole 9 yards, while the youngest cop read me my rights with a voice that kept cracking, probably wondering how he'd ended up in the middle of a desert soap opera. What nobody but me knew, while the sweat was rolling down my face and those news cameras caught every bead, was that I still had my left hand free clutching a plain Dell laptop. And inside that laptop, the master network node access for every single smart home, every Wi-Fi router, every alarm system in all 500 homes in Desert Springs Estates. One keystroke, and I could plunge this little slice of desert paradise into a digital blackout. But this wasn't about revenge. Not yet. Victoria Ashford had just picked the wrong guy for a fight because I wasn't just some random who bought a house at auction. I was the whistleblower who'd taken down the biggest tech fraud in Arizona history. And the only reason their internet had never gone out for 20 years was because of the secrets inside that house. But before I tell you exactly how Victoria Ashford wrote the instruction manual for her own downfall, if you've ever been falsely accused like I was with handcuffs on your wrists and your whole world on blast, let me just say, hit that like button, stand up for justice. And if these HOA nightmares help you stay alert in your own neighborhood, share your story below, because what happens next you won't believe. Now, how did I end up starring in a live episode of Suburban Cops Gone Wild? It started 8 months back when I was still Jackson Reeves, just another over-caffeinated security analyst at Nexus Networks, the third biggest ISP in Arizona. My days were a blur of code podcasts and cold coffee, until one day, buried deep in a mountain of data logs, I found something that stopped my heart. Our CEO, Richard Blackstone, was laundering cartel money, $200 million, through ghost accounts hidden as fake bandwidth charges. The FBI took my findings and put me in witness protection for months while they built their case. When the dust settled and Blackstone was carted off on national TV, I got $12 million in whistleblower reward money. Blood money, if we're being honest. Lost friends, lost career, and a one-way ticket to start over somewhere nobody knows your name. That's how I found the listing for the house in Desert Springs Estates, a sealed bid auction, 4-bedroom, Spanish colonial, 3 acres of impossible green in the middle of the Mojave. I bid, I won, and suddenly I was a homeowner with a property that on paper had unique historical infrastructure and an oasis that looked way too good for a place where grass dies before lunch. Trouble started before I even got the boxes off the truck. A pearl white Mercedes blocks my driveway out steps, Victoria Ashford, mid-50s, Botox battle armor skirt so tight she had to take baby steps. She introduces herself like she's running for HOA President of the Universe. "I'm Victoria Ashford, President of the HOA, and we need to talk about your acquisition." She says acquisition like I'm a Russian oligarch, not a guy in a sweat-stained t-shirt. One assistant is snapping pictures of my moving truck like she's building a case for the FBI. The other is writing things down like she's on payroll for TMZ. Victoria pulls out a folder with a Desert Springs Community Resource Covenant of 1998 and tries to convince me my Oasis is community property. But the document's header is in Arial Unicode, a font that didn't even exist in '98, and the watermark is from 2015. Yeah, I noticed that kind of thing. This is fake, I tell her, and you could see the fury bubbling under her foundation. She doubles down, threatens me with aggressive action, and warns life can get uncomfortable for those who don't play ball. The next morning, 6 a.m. sharp, I find a neon orange violation on my door, improper vehicle placement, $50 fine. By noon, 2 more unapproved exterior modification for putting a potted cactus on my porch. Excessive noise for moving boxes at 8 p.m. Classic HOA harassment, turn up the pressure, bury you in fines, wait for you to sell. What Victoria didn't know is I'd spent months dodging cartel hitmen and testifying in federal court. Her amateur tactics were child's play. Day 3, things got real. My mail's been opened and tossed across the yard. My water's mysteriously shut off during a heat wave, 4 hours on the phone to get it turned back on. Nobody knows why. Then, just as the sun's setting, my neighbor shuffles over Arthur Hendress, 80. If he's a day with a handshake, that'd make a lumberjack wince. "You're the new owner of the Blake place," he says, and gives me the inside scoop. Victoria's driven out 17 families in the last decade. Always the same pattern: fines, harassment, utilities. Mysteriously cut, families give up and sell cheap. Victoria's husband's bank forecloses, shell companies snap up the land. But Blake, the previous owner, was a paranoid tech genius, kept muttering about secret servers and cables in the ground. Internet's never gone out here, not even once, Arthur says, even during statewide blackouts. So that night, with Arthur's warning rattling in my head, I tear through the garage, moving old shelving until I find a hidden door. 10 minutes of old-school lock bypass, and I'm down a staircase into a bunker straight out of a spy movie. 47 server racks humming away, cooling systems still kicking, fiber cables running everywhere. Logbooks in the corner. This is the old Nexus Networks master node built for a federal program after 9/11. Forgotten in bankruptcy, quietly routing data for the entire region. Blake's last entry lays it all out. Victoria's been charging every homeowner $500 a month for maintenance on an internet system that's been free, automatic, and government funded for 20 years, $60 million siphoned right into her pockets. But it gets better. She's using the extra bandwidth to run a hidden crypto mining operation, pocketing millions in untraceable Bitcoin. Suddenly, her need for my property makes sense. She needs that node. Without it, her empire crashes. I call Rebecca Sterling, my lawyer from the whistleblower days, a bulldog in a pencil skirt who'd take on the devil if he overbilled her clients. I spill everything: the fake documents, the harassment, the bunker, the fraud. She goes pale, then starts building a federal case on the spot. She's already got files on Victoria. Turns out her own godparents were driven out by Victoria's scams. Rebecca's been tracking the shell companies, the stolen properties, the politicians in Victoria's back pocket, including her brother, Congressman Bradley Morrison, who's been blocking HOA investigations for years. "You're not just fighting an HOA," Rebecca tells me. "You're up against a multi-state criminal enterprise." Day 4. Victoria pulls her final card: media blitz. I wake to news vans parked out front, reporters waving microphones, voicemails, accusing me of running an underground casino. The stories are all over the web, complete with photoshopped images of slot machines in my garage. Victoria even had actors lined up to witness my supposed crimes. But every digital smear leads right back to her husband's design firm. I use the master node to trace emails showing bribes to reporters and scripts for fake witnesses. Within hours, Rebecca arrives with Marcus Grant, the FBI agent who ran my first whistleblower case. "You just stepped into the biggest HOA takedown in the Southwest," he says. We make my dining room into a war room, piecing together evidence connecting Victoria's emails to a bigger network. Other HOA presidents, politicians, shell companies, all part of the same scam. One email chain, Operation Sundown, talks about taking me out permanently. Marcus goes on high alert calls and a federal team gets warrants moving. That night at the emergency HOA meeting, Victoria called to finish me off. The entire neighborhood shows up, 500 angry people whipped up by her lies. Victoria launches into a $5,000 PowerPoint about my casino empire. Just as she's about to call the vote to ban me, I stand up and ask to show my own presentation. She tries to shut me down, but Marcus flashes his badge, stands up in the crowd, and everything goes dead silent. "We've been investigating criminal activity in Desert Springs for months," he announces. And then I take over slide after slide of fake documents, wellness center, fraud, $60 million in stolen fees, proof the internet is free and always has been. I pull out my phone, kill the lights in the community center with a tap, then turn them back on. "That's the power Victoria's been selling you for years," I say. "It was never hers to control." Rebecca lays out boxes of evidence, years of fraud, property theft, crypto mining shell companies. The crowd erupts, people start connecting the dots. Stories of harassment pour out, tears and anger everywhere. Victoria tries to wrest back control, lunging for the mic, but Marcus cuts her off. "You're under arrest for wire fraud, racketeering conspiracy, and a dozen other federal crimes." Cops cuff Victoria and her husband on the spot as news cameras roll their own media circus turned against them. In the weeks that follow, the truth floods out. Victoria's brother flees the country. Over 40 people across 3 states get arrested. The community gets their money back, their property back, and their dignity back. Arthur gets elected HOA president and slashes fees by 90%. Turns the old wellness center into a real community space. Rebecca and I, we end up together watching sunsets over the Oasis, now truly ours. The Master Node becomes a teaching tool for local kids, and Desert Springs Digital Freedom Foundation is born. 1 year later, we host the first Freedom Festival, honoring the families who finally got justice. As for Victoria, she gets 28 years in federal prison. Her empire gone, her reputation shredded. Her only fan mail, a note she sent me. "I should have burned your house down when I had the chance. I framed it right above the master switch. Some reminders you keep for life." So here's my question for you. When the system tries to crush you, do you fold or do you fight back with everything you've got? Drop your answer in the comments. Share your own HOA horror stories. And let's talk about what real justice looks like. Because in Desert Springs Estates, we proved that the loudest voice doesn't always win, the truth does. And now every sunrise, when I hear kids laughing by the springs and see the fiber cables humming with honest life, I remember paradise doesn't belong to people like Victoria Ashford. It belongs to anyone brave enough to stand up and claim it.